With the president now ready to take responsibility for a shutdown over funding the border wall, is that something Republicans are ready to back him up on? Well, let's ask GOP Senator from Utah, Mike Lee, who's on the Judiciary Committee. Good to see you tonight, Senator.
Good to see you.
It was a little wild and woolly in there today. So the president has said, listen, I'll own it. I will take this shutdown because it's all about border security. That is what people elected him to do.
It is. And I have to respect the fact that he ran on this, he campaigned on it, and he's actually doing what he said he would do. And he's also willing to say, I stand behind principles that I campaigned on. And I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. I'm willing to say I'm not going to fund everything in government that you say I have to, unless I'm also going to get something very important to me. I think that's helpful.
We know the Democrats came out and they were taking a victory lap after this. Aaron Blake writes in the Washington Post, the headline, Democrats finally went after Trump face to face. He says Democrats got a soundbite they could hardly have dreamed of. Trump saying repeatedly that he would shoulder the blame for a shutdown and even promising not to blame them. Quote, I will take the mantle, he said. I'll be the one to shut it down. If the shutdown does happen, they can now credibly say it was Trump's choice.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is, I think if it does happen, they themselves will end up shouldering the blame. Because of the fact that he said, I'm willing to shoulder it, he's putting it squarely on them to say, I'm not joking, I'm not going to blink, and this is what you're dealing with. And I actually think it's going to work well for him.
All right, well, it was a little testy in there. Now, let's talk about the thing that it seems like there is some bipartisan agreement on, which is criminal justice reform, something you've been working on. There were conversations about the majority leader, Mitch McConnell, not wanting to have a vote on this. A lot of people think he was acting under some pressure from the president. So now you're probably going to have a vote on this sooner rather than later. But you know, your GOP colleague, Senator Tom Cotton, continues to object. We talked about this before. Here's his latest statement.
I don't think the Senate should vote to let carjackers and bank robbers out of prison. Maybe other senators do. That's their prerogative. But I'll have lots of amendments to offer, and they can make those choices.
Carjackers and bank robbers.
Yeah, I disagree with every word he uttered. The words but and the, every syllable in there. Look, this bill is about making the American people safer by making our criminal justice system fairer, more effective, and more efficient. What we want to do is reduce the crime rate, reduce anyone's risk of becoming a victim of crime. That's what this bill does.
But he was saying today in another part of that interview that there will be people who are released right away. And he says just based on the law of averages, on the sheer numbers, there will be heinous crimes that are committed because of the people who are allowed to go free because of this legislation. True or false?
Well, I think it's false. I think it's certainly misleading. It's not how I see this law. Look, we have to take into account the fact that Michael Mukasey, President Bush's former attorney general, himself a former federal judge, not somebody who's soft on crime, recently came to us and said, it will soon be the case that we'll be spending more than a third of the entire Department of Justice budget on prison bed space. And he said when it reaches that level, that's resources that are being taken away from law enforcement and making it more difficult for us to keep the American people safe. That's why I applaud President Trump's leadership on this, and I'm glad that we're going to be getting a vote on it. It's going to pass overwhelmingly with 80 or more votes in the Senate. Okay,
speaking of crime, let's talk about some of the recent developments with Michael Cohen, Paul Manafort, the Mueller filings, in the Flynn case as well, a number of things that we're learning. It seems like there's a split on exactly what it means for the president. Rolling Stone says this in a headline, why Michael Cohen's sentencing docs are huge trouble for Trump. The president's implicated in a crime that he can't escape even if he sacks Robert Mueller. Over at nationalreview.com, one of their headlines was Mueller's got nothing. His probe has yet to uncover evidence of actual criminal acts by the president. Where do you come down on this?
Well, I agree with the latter statement. His probe has yet to uncover facts that are indicative of any criminal behavior on the part of the president. I do look forward to him wrapping it up, to figuring out where he's going with this. But as of yet, we haven't seen any evidence of criminal wrongdoing by the president.
What are you waiting for?
For Mueller to wrap up his report and his investigation, for us to tell us what he's found.
Do you think that the House, now in January in control of the Democrats, will get any more answers or has any appetite for finding any more answers about the origins of some of these investigations at the FBI and DOJ?
I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with the House with the Democratic majority taking over, whether they will continue to investigate that. And I have a feeling that we will nonetheless see some investigations going on, whether it's from the Senate side or within the Department of Justice, from the Office of Inspector General or otherwise, people looking into how these investigations came about and some of the abuses that might have occurred within the FBI.
Still a number of questions, not so many answers. All right, Senator Lee, thank you very much for stopping in.